All right, family. All right, family. What's going on this Saturday afternoon? Right. Normally we do these things in the morning. We just bring in an afternoon thing. This is why we say subscribe to the podcast, which we'll get to here in a second. Welcome in us. This is going to be an interesting one today, family. Welcome in us who are the almost 1,200 plus strong. Family, thank you for your support. Again, as we say, just a humble guy from the NY, man, right? No matter where we live, no matter where we move to on the planet, just a humble guy from the NY, that's my home. We're going to have a conversation about my home today as in correlation to another state. On dealings with how you deal with people, family. How we deal with people. That's all what it is. Relationships. This is what we started. The first episode of this podcast is about relationships, family, because at its core, when you look at the word relationship, relation is dealing with the things that bring us together, family. The things we share in common. I got some water here with me. We're going to try to do our best to keep calm to get through what we need to get through today, because it hits at home, right? So emotion is there with this, right? So y'all pray, y'all chant, y'all think good thoughts here for your brother, right? Because these are conversations we got to have today. I just had to turn down my fan there for a second. Your boy when it gets hot, your boy has fans on, man. We don't, the AC is all well and good, man, but they playing games with the AC cost, the cost of energy, as they play around with everything else, whether they believe a bird flu is what rose up the price of eggs and all this other kind of mess. See, again, family, we talked about this before, and they done played around with the article online, right? And we haven't gotten to the open just yet. So my apologies, hang in there, right? where we had said about 12 companies own about 80% of the stuff that we eat, right? Right? You got Nestle in there, they own a bunch. Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, General Mills, Unilever, Unilever, in case y'all want to look it up. Again, Kellogg's, Dannon, Mars, right? Same company make your cat food and all that kind of thing, right? A lot of different things that Mars makes. Mondelez, okay? A lot of different foods up in there. British Associated Foods. I don't know if I said Kellogg's. If I didn't, there you go, Kellogg's, man, right? These folks, when they close down your stores, what we going to do, family? What we going to do? Y'all welcome in us who are the 1,100 plus strong, currently the plus 1,100, almost 1,200 plus strong, right? The almost 1,200 plus strong who believe in. At some point, I'm going to get away from saying that number. We're just doing that for fun right now. Who believe in, if y'all hear some thunder and all that kind of thing, again, it is raining where I'm at, right? The rain is needed for the earth. I am not one of those kind of people that bug out when it rains. I'm happy when it rains, man. I'm happy when it snows. I'm happy to see earth in all of its forms, family, as the maker has made it. We understand that there are certain things that are behind it too. It affects certain people. Thankfully for me, it doesn't affect me that way, right? Although I deal with my own different issues, right? It doesn't affect me that way. Welcome in us who are the almost 1,200 plus strong, who believe in, who love after, who seek, hunger and search. We thirsty. Any thirsty people out there, right? No, we thirsty for that which is a different view over here, family. Welcome in, right? And welcome back to the podcast. I like saying welcome in. It just feels more informal because, again, we're speaking to people out here. It's not just robots. You're not an algorithm, okay? Human, flesh and blood, man, right? Again, for those of us Christian on the podcast, the ever-living temple of the living God, huh? Who is very real and known to us in a time of trouble. And family, right now, we're living in times of trouble. See, again, somebody got to have enough boldness to say something. We have to stop playing this hokey pokey, this holiness. Again, when we talk about the Christian faith over here, again, we do not discredit the other beliefs of the world. We recognize them fully. We're just talking about from where we are, okay? And in the Christian faith, man, okay, in the Abrahamic faiths, because again, those Abrahamic faiths split off into a bunch of folks. Our Rastafarian brothers and sisters are part of that faith. There's some things that we could glean from other people. See, this is where apologetics comes in. And this is where you see the narrow-mindedness of the Christian, because they only look at one thing. But you were supposed to study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman. Look at how the phrase is being said today. Your boy is hyped today because this is one of these. This topic we about to get into is one of them topics, family. It exposes the facade while people are worried about Shadur Sanders and where he's being drafted in the NFL. Get your own league, black brothers and sisters, and you won't have to worry about where they're being drafted. You'll know that they'll be taken care of in their own community. You in the man's community worrying about where they going to put a black man? Someone's missing the... we can do the holiness movement hokey pokey dance around this for as much as we want to. That is not the case here. All right, y'all? This is not what we do here. Not here, not on this podcast. I'm not playing that game anymore. There ain't no more time to be playing that game. Not the way this thing has been set up. Right? Talking about inside the household of faith. I'm not going to sit here and lambaste our Wiccan brothers and sisters, or Buddhist or Hinduist, spiritual, whatever it is, Neo, whatever name y'all want to put on it. We ain't going to blast them when we got problems inside the household of faith. When you got your white brothers and sisters, okay, jettison, whether we're talking the PAW, aka the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, denomination or assembly organization, whatever, whether you're talking about our brothers and sisters over in the Methodist part of the world. And all these things trace back to different forms and outshoots of different beliefs and groups, whether it's liturgical, non-liturgical, whatever. We in Bright Week, so this is going to be, for our liturgical brothers and sisters, this is going to be a good old conversation. We talking about bringing it right to the nitty, for your Orthodox folks. We're bringing it right home to the front door, family. It's the time. It's got to stop, right? Okay, Jay, what's got you hyped today, man? Why you, where you at, brother? We seen you. We heard you like this before on the podcast, man. What got you there right now? Surely it can't be nothing about no NFL, because we know you ain't about that NFL and that NBA and all this other kind of stuff, man. We know you don't really full on pay attention to that anymore. So what is it? In Washington State, family, as of today, shout out to the brother online, man, who put your boy on game, put a lot of folks on game by posting it on his page, man. Washington State trying to put up $120,000 for black homeowners. Black first-time homeowners. And the outbreak, the outrage, the backlash from people. We talking about the enemy. See, now when our Islamic brothers and sisters say the following, that the devil, speaking on the white man, family, drop the defense and listen with your heart. You're going to pick up on a lot today. It'll set you free today. Being serious, right? Just in a mental state about this world around you. When they say that the white man is the devil regardless of time and place, they mean that. They're not saying it off of conjecture. They're not saying it from conspiracy. They're talking about from history. Somebody earned that. The so-called white man and woman earned that through persecution of the brown and tan and black dark skin tone people on this planet. They earn that. Even with their own people, i.e. Hitler and the Holocaust. You baked. See, this is another thing we do. We get away from saying certain language. I had mentioned that last time on the podcast, didn't go all the way through with the thought. George Carlin talks about the word shell shock when you speak on the idea of how we've twisted words around to almost dehumanize what's going on. Till now, shell shock back in, I want to say it was World War I, right, is now called post-traumatic stress disorder today. This is not knocking anyone who goes through that. Let that defense crumble right down, okay? We full on support our military brothers and sisters who go through the sickness that is post-traumatic stress disorder caused by battling between countries, aka what people say is war. Again, on this podcast, from the definition, we realize war means confusion. So we just come on out and say it's battling between countries. It's battles between countries that cause the mind to snap from all of the blood and the death and destruction. Broken bodies, blown apart body. See, again, we try to get away from a thing. But in doing that, you cripple yourself to understand the truth of something so that when our dear family members come back from overseas, when they deal with this sick soup, this pressure cooker of mess here that they got to defend the core, right, as they say, right, and the reserves and all that, they got to stay around all this sickness here on these lands. See, this is why I make the distinction between America and the United States. See, what was built on these lands was at the cost of the people already living on these lands. That now when you have the state of Washington trying to give back, now it causes a problem. But this is not the first time we have seen it in history. We're going to show you one instance today that comes from where I come from. Good old state of New York. In Queens, Rosedale. Back in the 70s. For those who are listening on the podcast from New York, what's going on? Shout out to you. People continue to do a thing that is dangerous to society. And it is escapism, as we first started talking about on this podcast, that we see in the TV show Moon Knight, high levels of DID going on, right? Cognitive dissonance going on. People are making whole realities around. It's kind of the same thing that you see on WandaVision. This is why I do not knock Marvel TV right now. I'm not doing it. Other people want to do it and they want to say what's woke and all that. Hey, black folks had already told you in the 60s and 70s to stay woke. See, you figure it out, right? This is not being disrespectful. We're just saying what it is, family. $120,000. Yet the president beforehand was able to give food cards to folks in Chicago. Do we forget about that? I know we forget about this stuff. We so stuck on what Donald Trump doing, we forgot what the other president doing. I told y'all, family, it does not matter whether Democratic or Republican. Neither one of them give a damn about you. And the government, of which they have separated this thing into two quote-unquote parties, is supposed to be there for your benefit. They wouldn't be there without you, right? So let's pull up this article here while we're we just talking today, man. This is just, we just talking, family, right? Let's see if we can find this thing. Yeah, here it is. Make sure the volume on my thing is up. If it's a little too loud, you may want to turn it down in your car or wherever you're listening, okay? Speaking of where you're listening, we can be found on Spotify at a different view under the artist name KJ. You can find us on Apple, same thing. It's a different view. Artist name is KJ. You can find us on YouTube. Changes up a little bit on YouTube. It's at a different view 80. Okay, same thing. You'll find it there. You'll see the playlist, all almost 200 episodes. Right. So let's get into this video here. We're talking about the article itself. I also want to find here. Let me see if I can find what this dear brother sent over. And he found up on Twitter. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Before we play this video, this is trash, man. Let me be very, very clear. Okay, what we gonna say? See, again, now let me be clear. We've already stated that on this podcast I'm pro-black. At the same time, it's also pro-humanity. So, and at the same time, it's not pro-jackass, right? Again, we start in the household of faith, and then we expand. Same thing. We start with the black community, but we expand everybody here. No different than the Maker do. From one blood, all nations. We're talking about St. Paul's, right? We're still in Bright Week, so we're going to bring up we're going to use some terminology like we'd be using in the liturgical church. St. Paul, let us know. Talking to the Greeks at Mars Hill in your Bible, right? Let you know that from one blood, all nations of people that dwell on this earth were made from one blood. Okay? Two things you got to recognize there. One source. Okay, we're all humans, right? Number two is the fact that it's all nation. It's the various nations. Now, unfortunately, the explorers years later could not give certain credit to them. That's why you don't know about the Arawak people. It's why you don't know about the Boricua people. That is, unless you listen to like a Fat Joe song, that he'll mention Boricuas, right? Or you listen to different things where they actually mention Boricua, right? We don't know about our people, the various native tribes. You've got only some that are called recognized, the rest are unrecognized, that are present out of their graciousness. Wants to sit there and, we'll just recognize another tribe every once in a while. Again, as we have mentioned, shout out to the Seminole group here, right? We can go into a whole thing on them. This, for time's sake, we're not doing that. We're on this topic here with Washington State right now. $12 billion they own. People got a problem with the native owning casinos. Own them things. Outright in your name. You are more than do it. Again, for some odd reason, the bully makes the victim feel like they not own nothing. When you in a see, again, we said a lot of things in nature, family. In talking in conversation with a brother, right, on his podcast one time, right. We just mentioned this a couple days ago, talking about how you can see nature. Your own two eyes, man. Pay attention. Look in family dynamic, family. You get it. This is what God gave. A child was born to a man and a woman, right? Which we call mother and father, who then have connections of people before them, if that's the case, if they want to be involved in their life or not. Just saying what it is, right? Where you got grandparents and great grandparents, which technically, great and grandparents, grandfathers, grandmothers, great, so on and so forth, right? Whether or not they want to be involved, that's a whole other topic, but you're still there. Okay. Same thing with the white Christians leaving the black Christians, right? And the AME church and all this kind of stuff, of which many blessings have happened as a result of all this mess. But still, that was mess that's there at the foundation. No different than Cain killing Abel. It's at the foundation. We don't sit here and act like that's not there. Right? Again, we talking high levels of DID at work. We making disassociative identities to get away from the real that's right there in front of you. We doing it. Oh, yes, we doing it. And then people want to discourage therapy. This is why every time that we do these months, we talk about mental therapy here, because it's necessary. Somewhere the psyche was broken. In your mind is where a lot of this mess occurs. That then someone could say something like this on Twitter. Breaking. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson signs a new law providing $120,000 down payments for black first-time home buyers. Now, when you listen to this article, it doesn't say anything about black first-time home buyers. They say it a different way. This is their language. It's how they talk. Okay. This is blatantly racist. Who's holding who back here, by the way? I don't see anybody holding anybody back. Again, we have talked about what racism is on this podcast. Number one, it's fake. It's a social construct made up. The word race, what people use, like saying the word interracial and things of that nature, is literally what it says, a race. Shout out to Dr. Claude Anderson one time, man. People breaking down life for folks. Race, a competition to get all the stuff. The wealth, the resources, the land, power and influence. That's what racism deals with. It's a different form of classism. It's a sick form of classism. Right up there with ageism. As we said on this podcast, as soon as you see ism on the thing, you better know. You better know. You better know, family, that thing is sideways. Racism. Again, we said classism, ageism, sexism, all of that mess. No good. Right? No good. This is blatantly racist. 120,000 to blacks, but not to Asians, who have set themselves up, by the way. We know they're discriminated. Shout out to our Asian family on the podcast one time. Got a lot of them that rock with me, because we show love to everybody, y'all. But we got to stop playing around like this ain't it. Stop playing around, family. These folks got that. They come into this nation ready to go. They'll come over from Asia into this nation ready to go. That's how well they got their game down. Yes, they do. Yes, they do have problems and issues. We're not going to discredit that over here. We're not. But we're talking about they are part of the black and brown group, family. We're just talking about what this person is talking about right now. The next one is the whites. We're going to show you an article from back in the day. There is something that is displayed. Now, see, we said on this podcast that there is a group, there is a list here. They don't say it. There is a list here that you can see through history of the folks that are kept down at the bottom, meant to serve massa. We have said it's the black and brown folks. Again, one of them groups that she names. She actually names 3 of those groups in the brown category. Women, that's another one. The woman is there as the footstool for the man. Let's stop the hoax. Whether it's sexually, financially, whatever it is, that woman is there to serve that man. That's the way they're looked at. Not the way the Maker made them, but it is the way in this sick pseudo-classism that we do, where we put them. The children are there. The children are there as a possession of humans. How sick. They're arrows in your quiver, is what the Bible says. Blessings from God. From God. To be trained in the way they're going to go. And yet somehow, some way, it turns around into something else. Right? The whites. Now, the poor white person is definitely on that list. Just going to keep it 100. Even though you benefit from a society around you, listen, like we just mentioned with Mr. Hitler, he threw European Jews, right? The European diaspora Jews. This is something you can look up online. He threw them in ovens, y'all, and baked them. Persecuted them. That's what they think of you. Okay? These are the same truths that Fred Hampton was trying to deal with in the Black Panther Party, in the Black Panther movement, in the Black Panthers. Right? This is what it is. This is where the Rainbow Coalition comes in, family. Right? There's something else you can learn through history. Hispanics is the next group, she says. The Hispanic. You mean the one that Mexico was taken away from, those Hispanics? Wait. You mean the ones where Spain and Portugal came in over on the islands of the Americas? Those Hispanics? Wait. Maybe you're talking about those who are misutilizing under the name of trade routes, our Panamanian brothers and sisters that they're trying to take back to the Panama Canal. Maybe those Hispanics? See, the more you study history, family, the more you can see how much full of BS, I gotta say it that way, that people really are in their mind. They've been bred to think a certain way and that they stay stuck to. Again, we reference plantation life because that's what has made this life we live on. You can talk all that God stuff you want to all day long. Again, like we said on this podcast, you use God as a cover for you to take. That's it. That's it. This is not no God-fearing country. The God-fearing country was the one here before Europe came calling. Different than it looks like in a Roman Catholic church. But they were definitely worshiping God in their own way. Right? Just saying. And then, of course, she ends with the native. Oh, family, if by now you cannot see through the deception, I don't know what to tell you. What if you're part black? I re-referenced the black doll experiment. Were they worried about part black when they did that and sat them beautiful babies down, talking about how the children are part of the slave class, sat down for sick mental experiments to be done at the hands of people who should have been using science and social science to set people free. You used it to enslave black and brown skinned people and poor white folks. Because this is the sick soup you got them up in. We just saying what it is, man. What if you're part black? How will they determine their black? How will they determine your blackness? The same way they determine the blackness of every black person that they hung from trees and they watched them swing after church services. Not trying to be too graphic, but where you had pregnant black women, you can look it up, Shout out to Sister Mary one time, man. Hung from a rope because her husband wanted to get involved in the impropriety of a white man with a black woman. God help us. Help me to talk today, man. Help me to talk through the pain. You want to sit there and be this hypocritical. That's what Christ was talking about with the chief priests, scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees. This mess that you allowed in you to corrupt your psyche where it comes to your other black brother and sister. That it set the black person free today. There's a certain way we got to act, family. Don't get it twisted, right? When you 60 to 70% of single parent households in your communities, it's time to lower the, again, we understand y'all want to be out there freaking. You want to put on that good music. You want to drink that good beer or alcohol, whatever it is. You won't get high. And then, hey, we get it. We know everybody ain't going to sustain from sex. We saying it right over here, okay? We understand this goes against the grain of what you read about in the Bible and all this kinds of things. We're letting you know, family, that if you do this, again, God has a certain standard set up, that when you do things, there is a way to give yourself a level of salvation now. Stop giving each other diseases out here. Stop having the unwanted pregnancies. Stop having excessive heartbreak out here. Come on now. This is just the real. This is just the real staring you in the face. Again, if you are not going to abstain, this is just the real. No matter whether you hetero or homosexual. Of course, we know with the pregnancy thing, we understand all that. Okay, we're not talking about that. That's not where we're going with this. But you want to sit there and talk about how you can determine your blackness. They had no problem. We 1920. It wasn't that long ago, the 1950s, family. Come on now, right? The 1920s was just 100 years ago. It ain't that long. We're just fast forwarding time up a little bit. They had no problem watching you swing. I'm sure they're going to figure out. They're going to figure out how black you are. This, especially with how many mixed babies there are. They already know. You tan as can be. You know, don't get me wrong. You got something that's super light that you may have to take a double look. No. We know. We all know. Will you have to, she goes on to say, will you have to get an Ancestry or 23andMe genetic test to first prove if you're black? What? Folks, I'm as dark as can be. I already know I'm so-called black. My thing is to find out all the ancestry and stuff, which you can find out by going through your state governments. I'm starting to find that out, and we're beginning to walk that path where you can. And we just letting y'all know, family, you can get in touch with your state governments where you know some of your folks come from. Find out where they come from. Since everybody want to keep talking about who coming from Africa, we just saying. You can go look it up because they keep certain records to an extent and all that kind of thing. Go look it up. Go ask around. Like we have told you about my grandmother being Cherokee. There's certain things that you can find out, man. I'm just saying, y'all, stop this thing where everything is mystical and spooky. No, you can find out. They know. That's why they telling you. They know. This is something to keep you up off the path. Okay? This is something to keep you up off the path. And here on this podcast, we ain't about keeping nobody up off the path. We're about leading you in the path. We're about leading you in the path over here. Yeah, we're gonna lead y'all on the path over here. This is not, man. People got real questions about life and stuff like that. I got no time to be doing this vague. No, it's time for straight talk, real talk, right to the heart. And with that said, folks, again, this the kind of thought process that's out here right now. People don't ever want you on to come up. Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, they could be making up Christ is King what is Christ is? Do you again? You know what? You know what? Here. Before we get into this video, man. We just gonna drop this truth on you, and then we're gonna keep it moving, man. James chapter 1, man. What is, since everybody on all this, who's supposed to be doing what? Again, this is to the word. See, this is why we do a lot of Pan-African stuff over here. I don't get involved in a lot of other minutiae. We're talking about it, its base, at its core definition. We're talking about the diaspora of people scattered across the world, dark-skinned folks, man. We dark-skinned folks, not just the African thing, but dark-skinned folks. The dark-skinned people, right? Scattered abroad. That's the first verse. Starts off with, it's talking about the 12 tribes, but we're expanding on the knowledge, right? Okay? I mean, that's right there. You can see it. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into different temptations. So they coming. We keep getting nuts over the fact that they coming, but family, they coming. Again, that's why I say look for the beauty, family. There is beauty in a different view. When you're going through troubles, it's not the trouble part. There's nothing. See, where did people get? Oh, we talking. You talking about supposed to be happy in the cancer care? No one is telling you that. But we are saying for the amount of life that you got left on the planet. Yeah. For the amount of life you got left on the planet, you use it in the most impactful way possible as you leave this earth. That's what we talking about. That's the joy. That's the joy. Not the cancer. Not the fact you got cancer. Not the fact you ain't got no house. Not the fact that you ain't got a good working car. We ain't talking. Who is telling people this weird mess? We talking about the impact that you can have through the pain. The search and the fight for an answer through the disillusionment. People want to keep getting on folks that deconstruct, man. We talking about that knowledge that you find as you reconstruct yourself. Even as a Christian, right? Count it all joy when you fall into different temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your belief worketh patience. Let's look at the word patience one time. Just, again, these are simple things. You can just do what all I'm doing is highlighting words, right clicking. I mean, it's just the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, the capacity. Let it worketh, the ability, so the work it like your muscles. But you want to look good in that mirror for Instagram. I understand some people don't, but we're just talking about those who want health, even as me, on the path of health and losing weight and eating healthy. More than just the losing weight, man. We're talking about life as you are made on this planet, man. Ain't nobody made to have all that excess weight. When they talk about obesity, that ain't just like that BMI scale they talking about. Oh, you're 2 points over where you should be. You're obese. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. But we are talking about people that couldn't run a good city block without being totally, like physically destroyed. Right? Not even the country mile, a city block. All these types of things, family. Going upstairs. You watch people go up like 13 stairs. They gassed, man. Again, myself included. We're not doing this like pointing any fingers. What type of trash is that? Where did we learn that? We know where we learned that from. This is a rhetorical question. You learn it from Massa. Pointing fingers and making fun of people's differences, you learn it from Massa. It's all over the slave codes. That's how they kept the slave in line, by making fun of each other. It's how they keep you in line too till this day, by making fun of each other. It's why we can still argue who's supposed to get paid and ain't supposed to get paid. It's the reason why this woman sitting here talking about why the black man and woman shouldn't have $120,000. You know how much millions of dollars and billions of dollars is embezzled on a daily basis? $120,000. Not for you. Maybe for me and my friends, not for you. Let's get into this video as we see these couple videos here and wrap up. Okay, that has nothing to do with it. That's talking about some New Orleans festival. We're not about that. We're talking about this Washington situation. Here we go.
Basically, this new law modifies some of the qualifications first-time home buyers would have to meet in order to get zero-interest loans to cover down payments and closing costs.
These aren't handouts, they're really hand-ups.
Loretta Kale supervises 9 housing counselors who help people buy or save their homes. She also had a hand in creating the Covenant Home Ownership Program, which started giving zero-interest loans to first-time home buyers last year. This new law makes a few modifications to that program, trying to serve more people. It raises the qualifying income from 100% to the average median income to 120%.
There's only so many resources available. And if you're in a lower area median income category, It literally will push you out of any opportunity to purchase.
The new law also expands eligible groups working to close the gap between people of color, particularly black households, and white households.
That's just where we're going to stop. It's a 2-minute video. We don't need the back end of it. Okay? We just don't need the back end of it. That's what it's about, family. Right? You in neighborhoods where you got these low rent apartments, guess what you're going to have, family? You're going to have the people who have... It's a mindset thing. Some people do not act like this. Before y'all use this defense in your mind. What you saying, KJ? Everybody who got low income is like ghetto people? I'm not saying that. Lord, man. But what we are saying is that people who have a certain mentality, when you live around the level of poverty, they live like they have nothing but poverty. This is part of the game. And these are some of the folks that white people specifically don't want in the community. We could understand if you keeping up a bunch of riffraff, why would you want that in your community? That would be for black or white people or Hispanic folks, Caribbean people, island people. It doesn't matter. You don't want someone around you that's got riffraff. You would want it the other way. That is, unless you like riffraff. And again, birds of a feather flock together, y'all. The snooty people don't want somebody grounded around them. That's why certain white, we're talking as far as the poverty, right? Those who are the poor white person on this scale here. That's why they're looked down upon, y'all. They're not part of the group. They kicked them out of the group. With that thought process is this that happened on Long Island years ago. Now, this contains a word in it that we really do try to stay away from on this podcast, because here we believe it is derogatory of the highest sense with many different words. So we don't use it. What we say in return is Negro, right? Just what we say. Again, you got on a plantation. You got the owner, good old Simon Legree. Again, for those who are reading, or if you're reading now, Uncle Tom's Cabin incorrectly. These are the players in the game. Simon Legree, Uncle Tom, who's trying to set free his slave brothers and sisters. Sambo, who again is a bought Negro, used by Simon Legree to torture Uncle Tom. And those who were around Uncle Tom. Okay? Because the idea is to keep you on that plantation working for massa. Real life thought process is the bully coon. The bully coon used in caricature for minstrel shows, making fun of the Negro. This is where they came up with this mess, y'all. Okay? It's just time to grasp a hold of it. Where on the planet can the Negro, can our brown brothers and sisters, tan brothers and sisters go free from this mess? This is just a question that we're posing to the listening audience, right? Let's go with this video, and then we're going to end off today.
We had called them bike hikes. We were just going out to go explore your world.
It would be at least 6, 7, 8 of us. Our parents said as long as you were home before the streetlights came on, you stayed as a group, you're fine.
It was a beautiful day, sunshine. The children in the neighborhood planned to go on a trip to McDonald's, just have some fun, something different to do.
Rosedale, we thought, was a safe place. We all went down, we were riding our bikes.
And then we saw down the block that there was this beautiful American flag blowing in the wind.
We saw a group outside on the block, so we was like, oh, this is a block party.
The last thing that I remember was someone saying, oh, a parade. And so we went down to go see the parade. And I laugh about it to this day because it was a parade to get the black people out of Rosedale.
It's the summer of 1975. White residents in Rosedale, Queens are protesting black families moving into the neighborhood. These are scenes from a documentary produced by journalist Bill Moyers.
Does he have a right to live here?
No.
Why not?
Because he's black.
This was not the South. This was not Greenville, Mississippi, or Spartanburg, South Carolina.
I'm just going to pause this real quick while we're all listening to this video, just to put this out here again. This is another historical context. When they tell you that this isn't the South up north, wherever y'all might be, New York, Pennsylvania, so on and so forth, again, and you study redlining in Levittown. Levittown is used in two different places, one in Pennsylvania and, of course, Levittown, Long Island, where I was neighbor town to, right? A couple towns over. All right. Redlining, family. They didn't want the Negro there, okay? This is historic record. Okay, I'm sure they had good services and preachers preached on why the Negro shouldn't be there, because this is the mess that goes on, right? In the South, you have the invader comes in from the North. Over time, they get pissed off about being around each other. They separate, and you have them. They go south. Okay. To escape the mess that happens in the South because they did it wrong and made a whole mess of that mess, trying to continue enslaving peoples who live here, that they both shipped in, whether it be black folks on the islands, by the way, for those who believe that, they had the slave class, the workforce over here. When we say black and brown folks, we all over, man. Mixing pot is really mixing pot. That's all over. Natives. Those who were dark-skinned, that they labeled black already here, that we talked about in different episodes. You can go back and look, man. Certain Indians that they called Indians, they was Negroes. They switched the word more for Indian, right? Down in good old Mexico with Montezuma in the gang, huh? There's more that we can talk about. We're just going along. We're just having conversations. So there's no reason to empty all of it. We don't do that. Right? As we learn, like I said, as I'm learning, we give more information. But there's no need to have it all there's no need to have it all at once. This is about learning, family. They're down there in the South to escape, especially many of our black brothers and sisters, to escape that mess. They bounced from the South and came back north. So this this sickness is following folks no matter where they go. Again, you go up into heaven, God is there. You go down into Sheol, God is there. You go west or east, God is there. The same one. There's no difference. There's no difference, right? So when they talk on the South, family, South is the North is the South, the South is the North. It's just migration. That's all what it is inside these lands. Okay, so let's keep it rolling.
Or Atlanta, Georgia. This was right in the heart of the greatest metropolitan area in the country.
The documentary was found nearly 45 years later by a graduate student who posted a short clip on the internet. It went viral on Twitter and Facebook. And a question people kept asking, where are the kids now?
Hey Rob, this is Whitney Hurst calling from the New York Times. My name's Whitney Hurst, I'm a journalist.
To answer that question, we called more than 90 people who had lived in Rosedale at that time.
I was trying to find anyone that might have known someone.
We couldn't find any white residents who said they'd been there.
Came out because it got a little bit crazy.
But we spoke with several of the black children. We wanted to hear what happened to them that day, to understand why their experience is resonating decades later.
If I could interject on this, and again, we know we're at 40 minutes, so we are trying to wrap up here. We all know why there was no white folks we could find. Because it's throwing rocks and hiding your hand. That's the game. That's the game they play. They're not up front. But when they talk about the devil, again, we know those who are not part of the game, family. We know so-called white people who they're not involved in this. So this is not at y'all. Okay? We're talking about those who are against folks, and for what reason? We're trying to figure it out, right? Again, rhetorical, somewhat of this is rhetorical in question. We're trying to figure out why. We want you to say it out the mouth. There's something to do. There's some that bold, some KKK members, some Nazis, they're bold enough to say it out the mouth. Could you follow their example, please? Just say it out the mouth, that's all. So we know to avoid you and to protect ourselves against you. Because we belong, listen, All humanity belongs down here. And when you say all, that includes the Negro. Let's continue.
Later. So we went down to see what was going on, probably in the middle of the blocks. That's when we figured out it was something else. And it was something that we definitely were not invited to.
We noticed that they were running towards us. I was like, wow. Like, why are they rushing towards us? Not thinking anything negative. And then we heard, why are you calling me that? That's not me. I've always been told that's not me. To say we can't come here.
Sorry, y'all. I gotta do this because again, we understand. Again, look up the word Negus and shout out to Kendrick Lamar for doing. Man, I was listening to a song one day. He put this on. I was like, man, are you kidding me? It's talking about black rulers, right? Black kings. So we don't soak our mind in this kind of consciousness. You just still stuck on the plantation. You're just still a good house Negro, a field Negro, or bought Negro for massa. That's what it is. But when you illuminate, again, when you renew your mind, you break free of this mess. Then everybody else got to deal with you like that, unfortunately, because they don't want to join in on that good party, man, that says we're free. Hey, right?
He threw the rock. He tried to hit my sister, but he almost hit me about that much away from me. And I sure wish he had hit me with that rock. I would pick up the rock right next to me and hit him right in his face.
I was just kind of amazed to see that people could act like that, to tell you the truth. That was like really the first where I was like, wow, people do not like black people.
They will always do that. They always spit on us like we some dogs. They always gonna back on them. Ain't nothing gonna change.
I immediately was reminded of those programs my parents would have me watch with the dogs and the hoses and people trying to vote and being killed and lynched. It went right back to my history in this country. It just linked me immediately with that whole experience because I felt it.
Do you forgive them?
No. Can't take back no hurt.
And I didn't
Actually, you know what? Let me let this play.
know what to do with those feelings. I did not know what to do with those feelings.
That's where I'm gonna stop it, right? There's more. This is an 8-minute video, but for time's sake, we're already at almost 50 minutes here. So we're gonna take the last two. We have 48 minutes to wrap up on this, right? Number one, we have talked about forgiveness, family. Father, forgive them. See, they in the street, they say, on God, what's on God, right? This is at and on and near the heart of God, how you treat people. What you do to the least of these, you're doing also to God, right? It's for the evangelical out there running around touting whoever they want to believe and all that type of stuff. Let me take a sip of water real quick. Sorry if that sounds weird in the mic. Father, forgive them, for they know not. You don't. You don't know what you're doing. Successful families, no matter the color, add to a community. Law is meant to elevate society, not downgrade it. The people who would be having these grants aren't the ones who want to leave the ghetto to begin with. They're the ones who want to leave the ghetto. I'll say it again. Ain't nobody wanting to leave up out the ghetto who don't want to leave up out the ghetto. So you wouldn't find them going for $120,000 grants anyway. This comes down to prejudice at its highest core. Again, where the prejudger is totally broken. You don't want that. We don't subscribe to your soirees. We ain't involved in none of that. We involved in living, having our families come over, having that good barbecue, listening to that good R&B and positive hip hop music, right? And jazz, even rock and roll, so on and so forth. Whatever it is we get down to at these parties, right, family? Come on, shout out the black community one time. We're just saying what it is. No different than anyone else in any other party, right? And the persecution you find just as a result of trying to live. Where does I re-question the question? Where does the black person go? I got black friends. Where do your black friends go? See, if we're gonna hook around them, we're gonna be around them, family. You partake in the suffering. Isn't that what it's talked about in the Bible? As Christians, we partake in Christ's suffering, man. Yeah, count me as one of those, man. I get it now. They don't want me around because when I'm talking the truth of a thing, don't nobody riffraff on the mind want any. They call you everything. Point Dexters, all types of stuff. More Negroes was in them books that they stopped your ancestors from reading years ago. We would be better off than what we are instead of chasing crack rocks and the bag and women solely and all that. Again, I said solely. We understand some beautiful women down here. We get that. But this thing is supposed to be done decently and in order, family. Huh? They deserve men in their lives that's going to stand up for them, not tear them down. And that ain't simping. That's real man talk right there. These are the things, family, that we have to take into consideration. Understand that there are those, again, this enmity that we talked about. Some people do. Some people don't. Some people will. And some people won't. And that's where we're going to leave it today, family. That's where we're going to leave it today. Thank you for walking this road with me. As always, man. And until next time, look to find the beauty in a different view.